Illinois legislators have 3 days in Springfield this week, and their docket is full of controversial issues ranging from tax subsidies to COVID vaccine mandates. Amanda Venicky joins us now from the gallery in the Illinois House chambers. Amanda.
Yes, Brandis, one of the top items on Governor J.B. Pritzker's agenda has to do with the pandemic. Illinois has, for a while, had a law. It is called the Illinois Healthcare Right of Conscience Act. And this allows doctors and others in the medical field to refuse to perform any sort of medical procedure that defies their beliefs. And this really was intended so that anti-abortion physicians would not have to perform that procedure. But in recent months, teachers, nurses, and other workers have cited this law as a reason for not complying with their employers' COVID mandates to get the vaccine. Law also even been cited as a reason for folks refusing to comply with employers' mandates to get COVID testing if they're not vaccinated, or to even wear a mask. And workers have had some success in court using this law, and they say it's gotten traction as sound legal footing here. And so that is why the Pritzker administration, also the Illinois Attorney General, and some Democrats are seeking to modify law. Really, they're trying to make a narrow change here, explicit to the pandemic, saying that this Right of Conscience Act does not cover COVID and that employers can mandate masking.
If we leave Springfield doing nothing on this issue, we'll be walking back from all the progress that we've made so far. We'll be walking back from a state on all the mitigation efforts that we made, and that includes mask and testing. Not passing this bill ultimately means that the state cannot keep people safe, and we're talking about congregate settings here. We're talking about nursing homes and veteran homes. We're also talking about schools.
She says that it could lead to massive outbreaks, but there's also massive opposition. You had 49,000 individuals slipping in opposition for a legislative hearing today, and 49,000 people, I mean, that is a lot. And in fact, it may even be a record, at least from what I've witnessed in my decade or so here covering the State House. State Senator TERRI Bryant, she's a Republican from Southern Illinois. She says that refusing tests or anything having to do with medicine, well, that is an American right and belief.
When does another person who is afraid of something that may or may not pass on to them, for instance, if I have my mask on, if I'm staying 6 feet away from you, if I'm being tested regularly, why do you have a right to tell me, or anyone else for that matter? By the way, I am vaccinated, but why would someone else have the right to tell me that I cannot exercise my conscience or what is my sincerely held belief?
But you have Bishop Thomas PAPROCKI of the Springfield Archdiocese, who says that it is clear to him that the Healthcare Right of Conscience Act was not intended to cover things like COVID testing and masking.
I think that's just common sense. The Catholic hospitals, any hospital for that matter, has to have safety requirements. You wouldn't have a surgeon doing surgery without wearing a mask and scrubbing down. So there are some things I think that are reasonable and compelling.
PAPROCKI really named a name for himself in Illinois when he performed prayers of exorcism when Illinois legalized same-sex marriage. And he was a part of a group of Christian leaders who were at the State House today lobbying legislators to refuse and to vote against another measure that is percolating here. And that is one that would repeal a state law that requires parents be notified when their minor child seeks to have an abortion. Now, Pastor Jose ACEVADO leads a church in Portage Park.
What I know is that you as legislators are accountable to God for the decisions that you make. So when you come against the families, you're not coming against us directly. You're coming directly against God.
Now, State Senator Jill Tracy points out that Illinois requires a parent's permission for a child to get a tattoo, have their ears pierced, have aspirin at school. And she says in just as short time ago as 2019, the state and Governor Pritzker signed a law that raised the smoking age to 21.
So doesn't it seem illogical, as I said last week, illogical that we think that going under a major medical procedure such as an abortion shouldn't be given a chance to have the parents involved in that decision, or at least be notified that it's going to be happening?
But State Senator L.G. Sims points out that a pregnant minor can have other medical procedures without the parents ever knowing.
If the child makes the decision to have the baby, the parent does not have to be notified. If they're during the pendency of that pregnancy, if there is an emergency and a medical procedure is required, a C-section or anything else, a parent does not have to be notified. The only time a parent has to be notified is if the abortion is going to take place.
Democrats do hold super majorities in both the Illinois House and Senate, and these are both priorities for Governor Pritzker. So Democrats should have plenty of votes, even with GOP resistance, to enact either of these into law. However, at this point, there is not a clear path for them getting either of those done in these next couple of days. And as we've been talking here, I did just hear a bell, which is a signal that the state Senate is likely, I'm guessing as I'm speaking, coming back into order, and they are set this evening to take that initial vote on the repeal of the Parental Notification of Abortion Act. With that, back to you.
Amanda, I'm sure you'll be giving us those details as they're available. Thanks so much.